Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be making a new tutorial over how to make a Sub-Zero floating ball so you could use it towards your cosplays. I know a lot of people like to see this with my Sub-Zero that I originally made it for. What you're going to need today is you're going to need a few items. You're going to need a box cutter, glue gun, some scraps of Worbla, fish wire. I got these plastic balls of Christmas ornaments from Hobby Lobby. They were about $2. And then you're also going to need the moonlights that we talked about the last video. I love these things. And then you're going to need optional a airbrush with the color for emphasis on the color, the giant glue sticks to go with your glue gun, a heat gun. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Andrea. She is also interested in learning how to make the energy ball prop today. And so for this next part, what you're going to need is you're going to need your Christmas ornament that you got. And what I did real quick is it had these little hooks that you would put the hook on for the tree. I just simply cut it off with scissors, and then you're going to need your glue gun. You're going to need to make sure you're using the giant kind with the high temperature, because this next part will be a little messy, so I highly recommend using a towel. So once your glue gun is nice and hot and ready to go, you're going to take half of your ball and start gluing all over it in uneven patterns. Be sure not to focus on one area because it will end up getting too hot and melt and get rid of that circle shape from the ornament. So go ahead and just take your glue gun and just spew it all the way across, just making a mess. Just have fun with it.
Once you're finished with one side of the orb, you see it's nice and coated, you can go ahead and set it aside, let it cool down, and start on the other side.
Alright, for this next part, now that you've finished your two halves, you're going to make sure it's nice and cool because when you're applying this, it will burn you if you accidentally touch it. And keep in mind gravity, because if you're like moving it around here and you just put some here, it will drop and get on your skin, and it's just not pretty. So you're going to start with the second layer now. What you'll want to do is you're going to start with the middle so you can cover up the seam line or where the two halves connect, and then just start working around and try filling in all the little holes and gaps that you have around the orb. Alright, so now your orb should be nice and double layered with the glue and cooled down. The next part is you're going to want to take a box cutter, and where that seam that you covered up, you're going to go ahead and take the box and go down alongside the middle of it until you're able to at least get it to pry open, because that's when you're going to want to take your LEDs and just stick them on there. And technically you could be done if you just wanted to have this prop as is, or we'll continue on to the next step to get that little bit of extra detail and that floating magic effect. Alright, for this next part, we're going to go ahead and use the airbrush. Be sure to use a color that you want your orb to look like, such as this one being blue. We're going to go ahead and use the blue paint for the airbrush. Alright, so the next step is you're going to take your scrap piece of Worbla and some scissors, and you're going to cut out a small rectangle, because what you're going to make next is you're going to start making your rings that's going to be used to attach to the wire for the floating effect. So be sure to at least find out which finger you want to use it on, and take into account if you're wearing any gloves, then you're going to want to accommodate for those. Do keep in mind that the Worbla can stretch if necessary, and we're just going to cut out a piece, hit it with the heat gun, and form it into a ring. Alright, for the next part, now that you should have your ring shaped, you can do multiple things at this stage. You can add little intricate designs. Highly recommend painting it to the color that is going to be blending with your costume. So if it's a flesh tone, paint it more of flesh, or if it's armor, try to match the color of it. What you're going to do next is you're going to take the heat gun again, and the little two parts that you overlapped to make the ring, take something sharp like a needle or a pin, and you're just going to poke one hole right in the middle of it to make room for the next step, which is the fish wire. For the next part, you're going to want to take your orb as well as the fish wire and approximately measure out how far of a distance you want between the orb and your hand. So for instance, this one's a good couple of inches gap, but if you want more of a controlled look, I'd probably make it a little bit shorter so it's closer to your hand. So go ahead and measure that out, and then you're going to take the wire and go right through that little hole you made in the ring, and then you're just going to glue it on the inside with a little bit of hot glue, and it'll stay nice and in there, especially since the Worbla will help alleviate some of that weight to prevent it from falling. And then the next part is that since the orb opens this way, I would keep it this way versus this way, because if you have two opposing forces, it'll probably rip them both apart. So we're going to go ahead and do it vertically and find a good space between your hand and the orb, and then just use some hot glue and place it on one of the halves, and it'll stay on there, and you'll be one step closer to finishing. Alright, so what you're going to want to do now that you attach some glue onto the orb so it stays nice there, you're going to make sure it's nice and dry, of course. Be sure to squeeze the orb tight so it doesn't open up on you, and when you start to do the levitation, be sure to do it slowly so as the weight doesn't cause the line to break, and then you'll be able to make really cool pictures. You can also do it in other colors other than blue, so if you want a red fiery effect, put some red and orange on the inside there with the lights, and there you go, you have the orb. Alright, and there you go. You do have your energy ball now. Customize it as you see fit. Huge thanks to Dragon's Lair San Antonio for promoting this video. They have some really great stuff, such as Worbla especially, black, clear, and regular. They also have really awesome paints that you can use for your Warhammer or other figures, as well as comic books, action figures, and pop figures especially. So be sure to check them out here, Dragon's Lair San Antonio.